Even 7 years after its release, Godless remains one of the best Western TV shows around, with many still wondering if there'll ever be a second season. So let's take an honest look at the possibility of that happening, as well as exploring what a second season might entail, and whether its creator Scott Frank would even be open to it. So initially, Godless was actually written as a feature film, but its creator Scott Frank apparently found it very difficult to get the movie made. And so, a while later, he adapted his western into a mini-series for Netflix, which allowed him to tell the same self-contained story, but on a much larger scale and far more detail. And this proved to be a wise decision, as Godless received universal acclaim for its rich storytelling and memorable characters, winning multiple awards and quickly cementing itself as one of the best TV shows Netflix has ever made. So it makes sense that fans would be eager for a second season, and in some ways almost expecting it, given how competitive the streaming landscape has become. Now, the obvious answer why Godless has yet to have a continuation is that it was intended to be a limited series. However, many popular TV shows that were supposed to be a one-off have since gone on to be renewed for multiple seasons. And from a story perspective, the ending of Godless certainly had some dangling plot threads that could be further explored, such as the whereabouts of Roy Good and the uncertain future of Alice and the residents of LaBelle. But on the other hand, it could be argued that part of why Godless was so successful was due to its well-contained narrative arc and satisfying conclusion. Plus, with fan-favourite character Frank Griffin being killed off in the final episode, it's hard to see how a second season could ever live up to the first without him. And this debate over whether the show should continue or not seemed to very much split the opinion of those who worked on the series. For instance, Thomas Brody Sangster said, "It's got a really nice beginning, middle and end. It's very popular nowadays to just make something go on and on and on. At some point it becomes some sort of moneymaker thing, and I think as a viewer you can see that and sense that." Equally, Sam Waterston, who played Marshall John Cook, very much agreed, saying, "I think it's a novel, I don't think they'll make a Godless 2. But not everybody was so against the show continuing, with Roy Good himself, Jack O'Connell, saying, "I'm hopeful they make Godless 2. However, ultimately, there really is only one opinion that truly matters, that of the show's creator, Scott Frank, who when asked said, "You never know, but right now I don't know what it would be." So although that isn't really a confirmation or a denial, either way it does leave the door open for Scott Frank to revisit Godless in the future, even if he doesn't yet have a clear approach in mind of how he would do so. And as previously mentioned, a traditional second season does run the risk of diluting the impact of the first, and failing to live up to its quality. However, the world presented in the show still feels like one that's rich with untapped potential. For instance, a second season could tackle Roy's new life as an outlaw turned hero, or continue to explore the residents of LaBelle, tackling new threats from the encroaching outside world. Equally, a prequel series could be just as effective, exploring the origin of how Frank Griffin became the complex, twisted villain that we meet in the first season. However, probably the safest route to continue Godless would be to turn it into an anthology series, making use of the same universe and themes, but with new characters and a fresh Western narrative that offers something new without compromising what came before. Now, whether any of this will actually happen is total speculation, and it looks like it will come down to whether Scott Frank ever comes up with a good enough idea to warrant returning to Godless, which in fairness is probably the correct attitude to have. However, Netflix on the other hand are clearly not hanging around and capitalizing on the renewed interest in westerns brought about by Yellowstone, with big budget shows like Territory, American Primeval and The Abandons all set to start streaming soon, which they're probably hoping will be just as popular as Godless. But I'm interested to hear what you think about the idea of another season of Godless. Do you think it would be worth doing, or do you think the moment's passed? Also, while you're here, you might want to check out this video right here.